Hello everyone, today I'm going to play with the new Charvin watercolors that I got in Paris about a month ago. I picked a set of atypical colors on purpose. I didn't want to have another set of the same colors that I already have in different brands. Since I was going to buy new watercolors, I wanted to get colors that I did not have. And this one was already set like that, and I thought it was pretty neat. They're more pastel-y. I think they were advertised as like a Provence type of color set. Maybe flowers and trees and plants and things like that. So I didn't change the colors because when you go to the store, you buy a set, you're free to change any color you want. I exchange it for another one, and this time I didn't change anything. I thought that was a very interesting set of colors. So I used the little pad of Sennelier watercolor paper that I got at the Sennelier store to do my swatches, and I quite liked the colors, although some of them kind of look similar. A couple yellows looked a bit similar. I thought it was a very interesting choice of colors, and I also added the Sennelier gray half pan that I got at the Sennelier store. I thought it actually fit pretty well with that set. Now the tricky part was to figure out what to paint with all those colors. I didn't really want to use any colors outside of this set, and so I decided to go with flowers because, pastel colors go well with flowers. And to add to the challenge, I also decided to grab a piece of Khadi paper that I got in another art supply store in London. So the Khadi watercolor paper is handmade, I think in India, and it's 100% cotton. I've tried handmade cotton paper from India before, and I didn't have a very good time with it. I think maybe it didn't have any sizing in it or something. I just didn't like it. So I was a little bit scared of trying this one, but I heard a lot of good things about it, so I really wanted to give it a shot. Maybe it was not quite what I should have done though, using a strange color palette from a brand I'm not familiar with, on paper that I've never used before and that I'm scared of. But I thought I would just go for it. Let's be brave and have fun. So last week I walked by a beautiful garden that had roses sticking out of a white picket fence, and the contrast was just so pretty. So I took pictures, and that's what I decided to paint. I thought that it would fit with the color palette that I had, and I sketched it on my piece of paper. I love to paint roses in watercolor. I think it's fun and pretty easy for me at least. And once I was done with my sketch and I started putting the paint on the paper, I had a really hard time. I'm not gonna lie. This paper, I don't know if there's no sizing. I don't know if the sizing is different. It's really not what I'm used to. It has nothing to do with the papers like Arche, for instance. You can do washes, it's fine, but I've had a really hard time doing some wet on wet, so that it seems like the color doesn't spread very well on the wet paper. And maybe it's because I'm not used to that paper and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. I'm not sure, but the technique that I'm used to use on other papers, I just couldn't use with this paper. So instead of giving up, I had to adjust my technique to this particular paper, and I decided that I was just going to do simple washes and add a bunch of layers to get what I wanted. And once I decided to do that, I stopped being frustrated, and it worked pretty well, and I had quite a good time. I really like the paint. The half pans wet very easily. They're actually very creamy. They seem opaque, but really when you just lay them on the paper, they're pretty transparent and they dry very nicely. I think the colors are really beautiful. So I enjoyed putting the first few layers on the paper. Everything looked great. But very soon I realized that I was not going to create a magnificent piece of art. And that's because with the choice of colors that I have, I could not make very dark mixes. And therefore, my values were totally off, except on the leaves. I was okay with the leaves. But for the rose itself, it was way too pale and it was not sticking out enough. So I knew that this painting was not going to be a keeper, basically. It was good practice. It got me to learn a bit about the paper and how to deal with it. And I'm excited to play with it more, but with a different approach. Not with the style that I usually use, more of a simpler, more illustrative style will work great on this paper, I think. I'm also excited to use the paint on another paper like Arches paper or Fabriano Artistico to really push it to the limit, because then I'll be able to use them the way I like to use them with my technique and make a more realistic painting, which is how I use watercolors, and so with more saturated colors and more contrast. But I don't think I can use this set on its own because I cannot create good values with it. But I absolutely love all the greens that I was able to make with it. It just looks so natural and so pretty. I really like the leaves. I like that pink too, I really do. But I could not create a darker pink, something to really deepen those shadows, so I got frustrated with that. Off camera, I decided to use colored pencils to try to see if I could add more details and darken the contrast, but unfortunately the paper is too grainy and it ended up being a mess, so I kind of really ruined the painting in the end, but that's okay. It was just a practice painting and a valuable lesson too. In the end, I'm pretty happy with the paper. I was scared that I was not gonna like it, but I actually do. But it has its limitations for my techniques, and I absolutely love the paint. I'm glad I got colors that I do not have already, and they are a great addition to my collection of watercolors. So it's a win-win. I'm very happy. If you want to try the Charvin watercolors, I highly recommend them. They're really pretty. They're very pigmented and yep, they're fun. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to support this channel, you can always hit subscribe and the little bell also, so that you know whenever I upload a video. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can always click on the thanks button right next to the share button. Thank you all for stopping by. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.